Also deed prep and recording as well. So when that deed transfers from us to you, we handle that in that $1,600 fee as well. Then when we sell the property on the back end, from if you've done this, then that's a $1,500 marketing fee on the back end. So now for these bulk purchases, we've already included the $1,600 fee with those properties, as well as the Winner's Circle buyer's premium. So whatever the price is on those packages that we'll show you a little later, that's the all-in to get started. And then once we sell that property on your behalf, then it's the $1,500 fee. So do you have a question?
So when you're buying the bulk purchase, let's say there's 10 properties in that tape, so it'd be $1,600 per property to do all the locks and all that stuff.
Correct.
But if you decide to sell, it'd be $1,500 per.
As we sell it, when it's sold.
Typically, I mean, what do people tend to? I mean, is the selling just the main thing you do here, or do people hang on to it for other purposes for the bulk?
If you're a client of ours or a student buying this way, well, yeah, most of them
buy and hold, or you buy and sell. So like
most of them buy and hold. You can always find a buyer for your note, and then at the end, when it makes sense, after I get to the end of this process and how we create the land contract, then I'll invite Eric up, and then he can kind of explain what we've been working tirelessly. Kind of what I call the holy grail is selling those notes, liquidating all this work that we've done to get you the cash out so that you can start this all over again, but instead of starting with 4, now you've got the capital to do 6 or 7, and then we just keep rolling that. So that's what we've been working with Eric on, and I'll invite him up at the end of this portion to share that. So let's keep going, and hopefully I'll answer any questions you have, and then if I haven't answered any questions, then at the end we'll have a time to do so. So basically, it's just what we're offering is a turnkey real estate investment solution. Basically, you can purchase these properties and then be done and collect what Kent's partner and co-founder and owner likes to call mailbox money. So basically, once a month, he walks to his mailbox, gets his check for all of his notes. He likes to buy and hold and collect that income on an ongoing basis. But basically, that's what we provide. So within this Kingdom First Holdings family, we have 3 subsidiaries. Kingdom First Properties, which Ken kind of already covered this, but just to make sure we are all on the same page one more time. Kingdom First Properties handles the acquisitions. That's kind of the arm of Kingdom First Holdings that fosters the relationships with the auction houses, the banks, making sure that we have access to these properties that we want. Then we also, when you take on a deal and you buy number 1 through a bulk purchase, anything like that, you're buying from Kingdom First Properties. So let's say you buy a bulk package and you say, all right, here you go, work your magic. Then we move to buy here, pay here homes. That's my baby. So basically what we do is we market the properties. We do the site visits. I manage a team of asset managers in our home office headquarters in Tampa, Florida. And basically all they do all day is just work tirelessly to sell your homes on your behalf. Is anyone familiar with Salesforce?
Yeah.
It's one of the world's largest and most advanced customer relationship management softwares. We have a version of that called Property Base. It's built specifically for real estate. So all of the properties that we're responsible for and all our clients go into that database. It syncs back and forth with our website. So if there's any changes in the database, the website's updated. And then they just tirelessly market the properties on Craigslist. Last resort, we'll use realtors. Sorry to you realtors out there, but we'll use our signs. A lot of times, we never even have to get to that point. Yesterday, I was in Jacksonville prior to coming here. We just purchased a house on Springfield Avenue, and while I'm there changing the lock, taking photos, putting the signs up, the neighbors are all across the street. Here's this house has been sitting empty for 3 years. And as soon as I was done, I'm walking back to the car, and a young woman across the street had been kind of watching me, waiting for her turn, and her name's Netta, and she asked, started asking, well, what's buy here, pay here homes? Is this house for sale? It's been sitting here empty for 3 years. Everyone's wanted to know what's going on with it, and so, right there's a good chance. She's like, well, you're only interested in my income to verify. You'll finance me if I make enough money, and I can go in there. So even a lot of our deals are done right there on the spot, because here this house has been sitting empty for years. Most people couldn't buy it even if they wanted to from the bank, and so now that opportunity is there. So a lot of times, just from our sign being up right there on the lawn, the neighbors all want to know what's going on. So Buy Here, Pay Here Homes will see you through that process and find a buyer, whether it be cash or owner financing. And then Kingdom Contract Servicing, once Buy Here, Pay Here Homes is found and in buyer, and if it's a land contract, then we also can service your notes as well. So we use Loan Office, which is a very powerful loan servicing program and software. And so we track all the interest. We make sure that your the taxes are collected and escrowed, and we take care of that as well. We send out statements. We provide you a statement of your account, send a check to you, and basically handle everything up to 90 days of default. So if and when that happens, we can assist you as well, but there's extra charges. And so all of that is like a $35 a month per account fee, and then there's a bulk discount as well. So I think once you get to, is it 10 accounts, then I think that drops to $25. And then there's further discounts as well. So that's just kind of an overview. So your name goes on the deed. If you buy, and this is specifically addressing the bulk purchases in our turnkey solution. So your name goes on the deed, you're entitled. We start marketing that property for you. We prepare and process the deeds to be recorded, and then we get to work finding a buyer for you. Really what it comes down to is all that you have to do once we found a buyer is sign the paperwork that we send you. So we generate the contracts, the promissory note, we determine what the escrow amount needs to be, we create all that paperwork, we send it to the buyer, they sign it, get it notarized, get it back to us, we make sure everything's in order, and then we send it to you for signing. Now prior to that, all of our offers are submitted through the asset managers. I approve the offers. Generally speaking, our clients agree to carte blanche if there's at least a projected 20% return on investment, annual ROI, then I have authority, you give me authority to approve that offer. Now, our goal is much higher, 30, 40%, but we, having been doing this for many years, we know we want to weigh the risk and the reward between holding out for a better offer. The goal is to get someone in there as soon as possible, right? And so we have to kind of balance that, a better return versus having the house sit empty, and you're not making any money if no one's in the house, right? So we kind of weigh that, those two things going forward. If we ever get an offer that's below 20% ROI, then we forward that to you. If it's a reasonable offer, if it's a strong buyer, maybe they've got stronger credit for whatever reason, then we'll forward that to you, and you have the choice to approve that or not. But once it's approved, we handle all of the paperwork and everything, land contracts, promissory notes, that kind of thing. A lot of times people ask about insurance. We do have in the land contracts, we're able to enforce that the buyer have insurance, but so that's on, that kind of is determined by you whether we want to enforce that or not. Sometimes it makes it harder to find a buyer. Sometimes it just depends. A lot of our clients are kind of self-insured in a way because they just have blanket insurance, but they have so many properties, that and they've bought them for so little that it just kind of, they weigh that themselves. So that's up to you. Yes.
I was wondering about the back taxes if they're due on the property when you buy in bulk. Where is that handled in the process?
Yeah. Lately, and it just depends on the source. When we've been buying from Auckland lately, typically the taxes have been paid. Nation Star, sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. So when you buy, obviously you as the owner going on title are assuming that responsibility. On the buy here, pay here side, we try to pass on as much of that as possible to the end buyer. So we'll do we'll escrow larger amounts of taxes so that they can get caught up. That's our first goal is depending on the penalties and the fines and how far behind the taxes are. Obviously, we don't want it going to tax sale or anything like that. So we do whatever we can to avoid that. Sometimes the buyer will request that you as the owner pay the taxes up front, but then add it to the note. And so you're just basically making interest, on that as well. So there's all kinds of things that we can do. If there's any extenuating circumstance or something like that out of the norm, then we always consult you as our client. Say, hey, this is what they're proposing, or this is what I suggest to get a deal done. We want to get this property moved. What can you do to work with the buyer on that? So I just want to give you a few examples of some properties that we've done in the last few years, and maybe a little more recently. This house in particular was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,338 square foot house in Jackson, Michigan. Our client, who owns a minor league hockey team in Wisconsin, purchased this home in May of 2013 for $18,300. And that didn't just include the purchase of the home itself, but that included all the fees that I already covered with you. So $18,300 all in. We then were able to find a local buyer. We sold that home on paper, on the land contract, for $50,500. So Kent threw some numbers out there. They sound almost too good to be true, but a lot of times we're achieving that. And then there's some times where it's maybe a 20% return, and it all evens out and balances out. So this property we sold on terms of 327 months, so almost 30 years, $518.01 a month that they're collecting. So his total investment comes back in just under 3 years, or about 3 years. He gets his full investment back, collecting that $518 a month. And then over the life of the contract, that's over $170,000. So, I don't know where you'll be in 327 months from now, but I'm sure you'll be happy that you're collecting that $518.01. So, here's another one that Chuck bought, my dad's partner, $22,400 in Newport Richey. And actually, Teresa, if any of you have had any interaction with Kingdom First Properties, Teresa is amazing, and you'll encounter her if you do any kind of transactions with us. She does deeds and that kind of stuff. Her daughter actually bought this home, and this was a cool story just because she was a single mom and has a 6 or 7 year old boy, and she was just always from one apartment to the next, always having rent raised, always having to move her son around from school to school. So she wasn't able to get financing. Well, she was able to get financing, but part of the problem was the huge down payment that she had to come up with, not to mention closing costs and all that stuff. So we helped accommodate her and financed her, and so she was able to pick this up and did a complete amazing remodel on that, and has been in that home for about 2 years. In fact, that was her mom surprised, Teresa surprised her for her birthday last year. And so actually it was just, her birthday was last week. So she's been in there for a year.
If somebody wants to, if you're obviously going out there, at least in these cases here, whether it's owner finance, people who have, credit issues or something like that, that doesn't allow them to get a regular FHA. Let's say after a year or so, they clean up their act and are able to qualify. At that point, you just go out there and refinance the place and buy out your loan and own the place, and you get out your note.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just another exit strategy, and we've had that happen a few times. But yeah, absolutely. So because the interest rate is higher, typically when they're financing, it's a 12% rate. So
that's really high for.
Yeah, but we don't have there's no prepayment penalty. There's nothing like that, and obviously, for obvious reasons, we would encourage them to pay it off faster. Anyways, so, but yeah, we've had that happen before.
Now, are these strictly just purchase, or are you lease options on these things, or what structure are you?
These are land contracts.
How does it differ from a like lease option or a?
What's a
Well, there's
purchase?
no option. It's like you're buying it. They are committing
These
to
are
buy it
purchases.
from the start. There's no option, so it's just a fixed contract. Yeah, Jim.
Yeah, on the CFDs, land contracts, I'm assuming you have to comply with safe harbor, given these are owner occupants, or like they have minimum 5-year financing and stuff like that?
I don't know. Can you answer that question?
Yeah, Kent, you got, changed, I think it was January 14th, the safe harbor requirements for lending, and so lending, if you're going to owner finance out to an owner occupant, then you've got to offer 5-year, no balloon, all that kind of, you can step up interest rates, but you cannot, is this a minimum 5-year?
No, and we're, first of all, not loaning money, that's why it's not a mortgage, we're not loaning money, it's just a note, so that doesn't really apply. And secondly, there's no variable in the interest charge,
Yeah.
so it's just fixed.
Yeah.
There's no prepayment penalty. So you can do a lot of different things in the structuring of that, but no, we don't fall under those.
So you don't have to actually have, they don't have to have a minimum of 5-year?
Correct.
Because land contract, I mean, it's not about the lending, well, you're acting like a lender, not you, I mean,
Right.
you know,
There's
so.
no